Hi, everybody. This is Elektra Yao, immigration attorney and entertainment law attorney here in New York. Today is the first day of our summer series. Just hold on one second. I'm having some issues with Instagram, but I think we got it. So for the next month, I'm going to be going live every day to answer your O-1 questions and your EB-1A questions, also known as the artist visa or the extraordinary ability visa. Or the green card for artists, or the green card for those who have extraordinary abilities in their field. So for the O-1, today I want to start off, I just want to structure our conversation, or the conversation that we're going to be having for the next month, and talk about the first step usually in the O-1 journey. Now, the O-1 is a little bit different compared to other visa types, because usually people who are seeking the visa already know that they want to perform and work in the States creatively. So they already know, you guys already know that you want to pursue the artist visa. Of course, there are other options besides the artist visa, but usually most people will stick to the O-1 during their consultation. So during the consultation, this is really a really important time for you and the person that you're consulting with, the attorney that you're consulting with, to really understand the visa process, the law firm's process, and most importantly, understand the strategy of your case. So I wanted to give you guys a couple of tips on how to have the best conversation with an attorney for your artist visa or your O-1 consultation. So there's certain questions that I get asked all the time, and I don't really think that it adds a lot to you understanding the process of the O-1 or how the O-1 is going to affect you or how it's going to affect your case. So the number one question that I get asked, and probably you guys ask this too, is how many O-1 cases have you worked on? Now, I think that people ask that question because they figure if you have done a lot of cases, you've seen a lot of different trends or something like that. And it's a total valid question, but it's very uncontextualized. So if I tell you that I've done 1,000 O-1 cases, that's not really going to tell you anything about my skill set. Most importantly, it's not really going to tell you anything about the strategy for your case. So I suggest you substitute that question by saying, have you ever worked with my profession? So have you ever worked with performers who are specialized in musical theater? Or have you ever worked with graphic designers that are specialized in typography? Those are very specific questions that will provide you insight into the attorney's knowledge of your field and the attorney's strategy or preliminary strategy into how he or she is going to formulate your case and articulate your case to USCIS. So while it's totally and perfectly fine to talk about the numbers that a firm has worked with, I don't think that it's going to provide you a lot of context for creating the strongest petition for you. So I suggest substituting the question of how many cases have you worked on with have you ever worked with my specific profession? And if you have, what are trends? This is a part to the question. What are trends that you have been noticing for my profession? Now, I can do a whole video on trends that I see for dancers, for performers, for filmmakers and film festivals. There's a lot of things that are very boilerplate for USCIS that are specific to professions and sometimes nationalities, but that's a specific video. But that's a really, really great question to ask the attorney that you're consulting with. The second question that I get asked frequently is, how soon can you file my case? Now, I think that it's really important to understand at the offset that for the O-1, much like, for example, the E-2 visa, it's a very collaborative type of visa because the attorney really needs to understand what you are doing. And the attorney really needs to understand if you've got some sort of niche that he or she can carve out to really make your case stand out and make you special and unique. So, for example, I do work with a lot of performers, and I can always find something that is very specific to my client that I can utilize to make them stand out. This is what I believe is key. I think the saying is like the devil is in the details. This basically means that if you just present somebody that is a generic performer, and sometimes you can do that and be successful. I'm not saying that you You need to be specific. There are going to be lots of people who say, I was just presented as a performer, and that's great. I'm super happy for you. But every firm has their own strategy. And we in our firm, we've developed a scientific approach to O1s where we've got a very formulaic way of looking at cases. And part of our formula is identifying niche and special areas of creatives and artists. So it's important to ask the attorney for trends. It's important to ask the attorney if they have knowledge of the specific field. And sometimes a client will even be very knowledgeable, and I can tell that they've spoken to a bunch of different lawyers, will ask about RFEs. Now, although RFEs are a pain and a delay, they're sometimes a result of even a very, very excellent case. An RFE is usually the result of an untrained officer. An RFE is usually a result of sometimes a profession not being articulated properly to the officer. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it's a misapplication of the law. Please understand that in defense of attorneys, that it's not always the attorney's fault, because the attorney is somebody who is trained in the law. And in my case, I'm trained in the law and I have a very, very vast knowledge of the arts. But the person reading your petition does not. The person reading your petition is not an attorney. Probably 1% of adjudicating officers are attorneys. And I'm being very generous with that percentage. The person adjudicating or reviewing your petition has no sort of specific background on what your creative expertise is or what your unique skill set is. So they are kind of like tabula rasa. They really don't have that additional knowledge that you do, that I do, that people in your profession do. So sometimes you will get an RFE, even if you're a really strong case, as a result of what I just discussed. An inexperienced officer who doesn't really understand the law and who doesn't really have a lot of knowledge on your field of endeavor. So sometimes people will ask, do you get RFEs? Now, we pride ourselves in actually having a very low RFE rate, but sometimes they do happen. And as I said, it's a very normal process. And in fact, I would say in 2021, with the new administration, you should actually sometimes expect an RFE. Sometimes people will say, well, you know, the Trump administration versus the Biden administration. Well, I mean, there have been some differences, but this current administration has been mostly focused on family-based and humanitarian immigration, although there has been a major change for business-based immigration where a deferment to prior approvals has been reinstated. So the Yates memo has been reinstated. So I wouldn't necessarily focus on, you know, the approval rate versus Trump or versus Biden, because in my firm's case, we had a 99% approval rate under Trump. So I couldn't, in good faith, necessarily say that under the Trump administration, things were difficult for us. We got approvals on all different types of cases, strong cases and weak cases. So I guess what I'm trying to have you understand, or the mentality or the framework that I want you to have while you're watching my videos moving forward, is that you really should have a critical approach to when you're meeting with these attorneys and asking the questions. I think that asking the right questions and getting specific answers to your niche area and to your field is going to set the foundation for your O1 journey so that you can ask the intelligent questions and move forward positively so that you can ultimately secure an approval for your O1. So again, while there's nothing wrong with asking how many cases you've worked on, how many RFEs have you received, I don't think that those questions are actually going to assuage any fears that you have about this O1 journey. I think that if you start to ask questions about your, has the attorney worked with your profession? Has the attorney seen any trends associated with your profession and with your nationality? How does the attorney handle RFEs? Is that included in his or her fee, or is that an additional fee? Is there an opportunity to strategize if there's an RFE? Is there an opportunity to strategize during the O1 process? For example, what does strategizing look like? These are really important questions to have, because oftentimes I will have clients who've left other attorneys who come to us because, you know, their attorney wasn't super communicative, or maybe their attorney didn't answer questions in a way that might have been satisfactory to the client. So these are things that you really need to take into consideration, because the O-1 journey is like a relationship. You should treat your consultation as your first date, right? You want to really make sure that this is a professional relationship that you want to engage with for the next 2 months, potentially 3 months, or however long it takes you to work on your case. So with that being said, like I said, I really just wanted to set the foundation for the mentality that I hope that you guys adopt during this summer series where we're talking about O1s and EB1As. And I thought that it was very fitting to start with the consultation. Oftentimes, like I said, it's very daunting process. Oftentimes people have never actually been in front of an attorney, or, don't know anything about the attorney other than maybe what their friends have said or reviews or things that, they are just seeing online. So it's really important to make sure that you give your best good faith effort during that consultation, and you ask the right questions that make you feel comfortable and that will help you ultimately make the decision to stay or hire that that attorney. Sorry, people have been calling our office. So again, I'm here. I'm going to be here for the whole month, every day, talking to you guys about O1s, talking to you guys about entertainment law, talking to you guys about art. If there's any specific topic about art that you guys want me to discuss, I'd be happy to talk about it. This summer, as you guys know or probably don't know, I'm a native New Yorker. I'm from New York. I've lived in a bunch of different places, but I'm not born here, but I'm a native New Yorker. And there's just something about summertime in the city that is invigorating, and that kind of makes you feel like a butterfly, where you're kind of just, being reborn. And I'm very, very excited to say that the City Bar Organization here in New York City has asked my firm to organize the first in-person event, which is a huge, huge honor. The City Bar is the largest bar organization here in New York, and to be recognized by our peers to organize the first ever in-person event during COVID is pretty exciting. So I've got lots to talk about in terms of events and event planning and organizing parties and how to structure events and all different types of things that pertain to the arts industry. So we have a question. Do you think it's worth it to spend time prepping for the consultation, typing out questions, prepping a mock CV specifically for the O1 in detail, and have a good amount of evidence ready? So Sasha, this is an excellent, excellent question. So for my consultations, I always ask for a most up-to-date CV. It's a requirement to be able to meet with me, because that's how I conduct my analysis. That's how I'm able to ascertain whether or not your achievements or your accomplishments are O1 worthy. So if you're going to a consultation and they haven't asked you for your CV, that should ring some bells. So definitely, I love when clients are prepared, because like I said, I see this as a relationship. I love being challenged. I have my staff challenge me all the time, and I love answering questions, because I'm in it to win it. So my clients should be in it to win it as well. So if you're in it to win it, that means you're super prepared, asking me really, really tough questions, because this is your life. This is your livelihood. This is the money that you're going to be potentially making in the future once you get approved. And this is money that you're going to be paying a law firm, whether it's me or any other firm. So definitely have your most up-to-date CV prepared, and definitely ask questions. You should both be asking procedural questions, meaning, when is my case going to be filed? How is my case going to be filed? Why do you recommend filing it this way? And substantive questions, such as, do you think these achievements are strong enough for an O1? If you don't think these achievements are strong enough for an O1, what should I be doing to improve my professional profile? That's the beauty of the O1, because you've got to really understand that the O1 is not an isolated bubble. The O1 is encapsulated within your career. So everything that you do to work on your O1 or your EB1A is automatically going to fall back on your career, which is automatically going to position you as an expertise, which leads you back to O1 and EB1 standards and regulations. In terms of evidence, so I have many, many people who come to me already with evidence prepared. And while you get an A for effort, I am very strict about how I'd like to see the evidence. And this is not because I reject any sort of presentation from a potential client. It's just because of years of experience. I know exactly how to craft a successful petition. I know exactly what the officers are looking for, and I know exactly how to make it a pleasurable or pleasant experience for the officer who's reviewing about 10 of these a day. So while it is good for you to present a portfolio to me during the consultation, chances are, or 9 times out of 10, based on my experience, that portfolio is fantastic for the real world, not so great for my purposes or your purposes for the O-1. So I would say if you're in a time crunch and you don't know what to prep for your consultation with your attorney, the most important thing for the attorney, or at least for me when I'm working, is I'd like to see the most up-to-date CV possible. And I'd like to see everything. I don't want you to self-select and self-screen. I don't want you to say, oh, this is not something that Elektra is going to care about. Let me remove it from my CV. No, don't do that. Put everything there so that I can see it and I can have a big picture idea of what your career was from when you were back home in high school doing whatever you were doing to what you were doing on your OPT. So that's just how I work. Other attorneys are different, but I definitely suggest being prepared so that, number one, you get your time's worth, because this is your life. It's like, would you go to a doctor and not have the questions prepared? I know that when I go to the doctor, I'm always asking, where'd you go to school? Where'd you do your residency? How many, have you ever seen like these types of cases before? Because I want to make sure that I'm in the right hands, because this is my life. That's how I treat our O1s and our EB1s and all of our clients. We're kind of like the surgeons of your destiny, right? The way I use language and the way I present your case is ultimately going to have an effect on your life. So Sasha, this was a really, really great question. And I really hope that whoever you're working with or the consultation that you're going to go to, you have that most up-to-date CV prepared, big picture where you're including stuff from back home and obviously stuff that you've done here in the States, if you've done stuff here in the States. So again, I think that sometimes this is difficult to hear, because sometimes I think that the easy way out is usually preferable by lots of people, which is fine. But if you've got that I'm in it to win it mentality, if you've got that this is my life, I want to give myself the best good faith effort possible at securing an approval, then you've really got to do your homework, and you've really got to understand who you're engaging with, which attorney you're going to be working with. So that means doing your research on the attorney, doing the research on the firm. Do you want to work with a big firm? Do you want to work with a solo firm? Do you want to work with a firm that's doing in-person consultations? Are you comfortable with all virtual? These are super, super important questions to ask, because remember, once you pay those legal fees and you begin working on the case, then in order to stop working with that attorney, you've got to break your contract. So it becomes a little bit more complicated post signing the contract and post paying the legal fees. That's why it's important to do your homework and ask the smart questions. I'm a firm believer that there's no question that is a stupid question. You should be asking all the questions, but I'm here to give you insight on what are the better questions to ask so that you have a stronger consultation and a stronger, more contextualized understanding of the O1. There are many attorneys out there who do not understand O1s the way, for example, I do, where I'm highly, highly experienced in O1s and EB1As, and I've had to fix a lot of errors of other cases. Not knocking other attorneys. I am a firm believer in our profession, our very noble profession. But it's important to work with somebody who's highly, highly experienced and really understands the nuances and the shades of the O1 visa. So thank you everybody for watching. If there are any specific topics you want me to talk about, then please just email me, message me. You can text, WhatsApp our office. But the way I started today, kind of just like starting with the first initial consult for the O1 is kind of how I'm going to do the whole summer series. So today we talked about the consultation, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the onboarding process, what it means to be onboarded as a client. And then once we've done the onboarding process, then we're going to talk about each and every single criterion so that you guys understand exactly what you should be doing on your OPT. You understand exactly how you should be structuring your career, and you understand exactly what the O1 is asking of you. So we're going to go through the whole process, the onboarding, the different criteria. Then we're going to go through the technical requirements of the O-1. So the technical requirements of an O-1 are, for example, the advisory opinion or the peer consultation letter. What do those words mean? What are your options? We're going to discuss all of that. Then we're going to go on to contracts. So what makes the O-1 super special is the ability to work on behalf of multiple employers, projects, private individuals. What are the limitations of that? What are the limitations of working for one employer? I want to make sure that by the end of this month, after all of my lives, you guys have a great understanding of the O-1, because my goal is to make sure that artists and creatives are empowered and that you guys understand that there's no you guys have options. It's not like, 1950s, or 15s or 20s in Paris where things are super complex for Henry Miller and Anais Nin. This is 2021. You can have a great career as an artist. You can have a six-figure career as an artist. You just need to have the important, strong legal framework and business mentality in place to be able to succeed. So thank you guys for watching. I hang out everywhere. Connect with me on Clubhouse. Connect with me on TikTok. I love TikTok. If you guys don't know, I'm a former actress, so I loved acting when I was younger. And I'd be happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, I will see everyone tomorrow to discuss onboarding as an O-1 client. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the feeling like a butterfly and the New York City energy. Soon we're going to be opening up in July. Small theaters are opening up in July. Broadway for previews is opening up in September. We've got previews of Diana. So it's a very, very exciting time to be an actor, a performer, a creative, an artist here in New York. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow for onboarding.